What is up, everybody? Welcome to another fresh take. I got Mr. T with me.
Hey there, Foos. What's up?
All right, people. Now, a few weeks back, we did our look at the 2000s as far as movies are concerned, and I said that we were going to do a part two because there was a lot of stuff we still needed to go through. And tonight is going to be part two of that illustrious discussion. And well, we want to start with something a little, a director who I used to think in the 90s, he was actually not bad. He actually had some good movies. I mean, he's an action director, so you got to take what you can get with him. But the man knows how to frame an action scene, and that's what he's known for. He's good at that. But he decided to tackle 80s cartoons. One particular, title in glorious fashion. Now, of course, I agree with having to have a action director for this type of movie until he did part two. But at the time, and you know what I'm talking about, is Michael Bay, it's Transformers. And I had to start with this one because the first movie I didn't think was bad. The one in 2007, it had its problems, but I thought, you know what? This ain't half bad. It's not what I thought it would be, but I thought that, given the chance of looking at it being in a live action format with CG, I thought they did a good job. And on top of that, they gave Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, to voice Optimus Prime once again. So I was on board. I'm like, cool, man. This is okay. I mean, not perfect, but it's okay. It was a lot of flag waving, but then again, that's what Michael Bay does. He loves war. He loves doing all that stuff. Then we had the writer's strike, and then we got Revenge of the Fallen. And at this point, I was sitting in the theater shooting a bird at the screen because of the tomfoolery that went on this is what happens when you give a director too much money and too much notoriety. He thinks he's funny. He thinks he don't need to have somebody, check over what was being written. Because some of them characters in whether you agree with it or not, it was offensive as hell, man.
Oh my gosh.
Please, T, take it away.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll just touch on the first one a little bit. Once you got past the glossy GM commercial that it was, and your Michael Bay isms. Like Michael Bay, like you said, he's good at the action stuff, and he would have made one of the best second unit directors of all time. Now, if you don't know what a second unit director is, if you've seen it in a scroll at the end of the movie, basically second unit director goes out, at least, historically, was a guy who went out and got all the action stuff, got the action shots, the stuff that the director, maybe the director wasn't as good at that stuff, and so they hire a second unit guy who likes explosions, and he would go out and get that kind of stuff. So just, he's good at that stuff. He's not so good at the people moments. And the people in the Transformers movies always end up acting like, or having less personality than the robots, less human than the robots, which is kind of funny. But yeah, you get to Revenge of the Fallen, and man, I'll just say Negrobots. That's basically the caricature of black people as robots complete with gold teeth. I mean, I don't know how that got past anybody without somebody saying this is not a good idea. Like, I was sitting there offended. I was like, nope, done. We're done here. And yeah, go ahead.
The sad thing about the entire situation was the mere fact of the matter that he tried to play it off as like they were just they were for comedic effect. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
dude,
see,
where's
this
the
is the thing.
punchline?
Historically, Black people played a comedic effect role in Hollywood movies. So you got to have some sense of history of the medium that you work in. We used to be the goofy, stupid, shucking and jiving, comic relief. We got the goofy old butler or maid roles. It's like, with that kind of, hey there, honey, all that kind of, stereotypical crap. And in 2000 and what was it, 9, that movie came out?
9. That was 9, yeah.
You should know better.
Way better.
We had just got ourselves the first African American president. You would think we were so far removed from that stuff. To put that in that movie, like in 2009, was embarrassing, and I need an apology. I think we all need an apology for that debacle. But
Yeah.
that's one part of the movie. The entire movie was just stupid to begin with. Like that whole, maybe you can help me understand. What was the point of
I can't
the Terminatrix at the beginning? If you were just gonna kill him. Why go through that whole spiel of turning into a girlfriend and trying to make his girlfriend jealous? What was the point of that? If you think logically about that scene, it makes no sense.
I know what you're talking about. And I racked my brain over that one. I just think it was an excuse to get what's that actress's name? I can't remember the actress's name, but I think it was just an excuse to get her in the blue teddy.
Pretty much.
I mean, because
that's another thing. Michael Bay is a pervert who likes this scantily clad for no reason whatsoever, other than to, appease himself. And
there's a reason.
Maybe some dudes, well, yeah. It's the lizard brain male, reason why you would do that. So, it doesn't serve the movie at all. It doesn't serve the story. It just sticks out like a sore thumb.
It wouldn't be bad, like you said, if it actually served a purpose. But the problem is, it didn't got to a point now where if Michael Bay's directing a movie and there's a girl in there under the age of 15, you scared.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Just scared.
That was semi-acceptable in like the 80s, 90s. Yeah. There's a different culture then at that point. You can get away with that in a big dumb action movie. You can't do that now because people want smarter. People like big action movies, but they want stuff to be smarter than that. Like that was just not smart.
But I will say, I will say this: the all of that ridiculousness, the story them not making any sense, the whole thing with the fallen, the basically rehash of the first movie, all of that. I will say this once again: he does know how to frame an action sequence because
at least the action sequences
in that movie that worked.
Yeah.
It just worked.
All the robot stuff, the action stuff is good. Like it's entertaining. You can't take anything away from that. But it's getting to that, you're invested in the story, getting up to that stuff, and that's the hard part.
The 3 hours of hell we had to go through.
Oh man, 3 and why is his movies longer than Lord of the Rings? What the? Why are they so long? The dude needs. He needs some restraint in the editing room. It's ridiculous.
I mean, there's no excuse. His Transformers movie should be no longer than 2 hours and 10 minutes tops.
Yeah, that's tops.
Your movie should not be dipping in the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars territory as far as length is concerned. It shouldn't.
Right. I mean, he was doing that before Transformers. He did that with Bad Boys 2. I'm like, why is Bad Boys 2 2 hours and damn near 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Why is this movie so long? This is a comedy, action comedy. Why is this movie this long? He
And the
doesn't know how to edit himself.
and the first one was only an hour 50.
Right. The first one was nice, short, sweet,
Yeah.
good. We're
Right.
out.
No, not Michael Bay in 2003.
Right. He's just the king of excess. He just needs excessive, like you said, he's overbearing with the flag waving stuff, excessive like jets flying by, and slow motion shots of patriotism. It's corny. And then you have his crazy action scenes that go on forever. Sometimes you can't tell what's going on, but it keeps you entertained still. And he's a guy of excess, and he's like George Lucas in that way, where it's like, if you don't restrain him, you're going to be sitting in a 50s diner with a giant with a giant alien creature that has no real point to the movie. He just looks cool, like that's where you're going to end up. And I'm talking about Attack of the Clones, in case some of you guys didn't know. So.
And I agree with you, because let's be honest here. Mr. Bay honestly does not give a cuff.
Mm-mm.
He just don't at this point. Because
he knows what he's good at, and he's not going to try to be anything else. He's going to be himself. So. And
the funny thing about it is his movies make it at the box office. I mean, 4 of those Transformers movies made $1 billion.
That's true.
I'll tell you something.
He has had some flops.
Yeah,
I think Pain and Gain was one,
and that was actually a good movie.
It was a good movie, right?
Yeah.
Pain and Gain. The Island was a flop.
That was a flop, yeah.
And I don't want to say Bad Boys 2 was a flop, but it definitely wasn't commercially successful for them.
But for some reason, Transformers got him over that hump.
Yeah, he came back roaring with Transformers. You throw Steven Spielberg out there as your producer, you're in pretty good shape. So I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, that did, until Megan Fox decided to run her mouth. That being said, let's go to the movie that is the bane of your existence. 2006.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Now, my X-Men
can I give a little?
My X-Men movie sucked, but your movie that hit out later that summer.
But here's the thing: your X-Men movie, at least your X-Men movie was entertaining. I wasn't bored.
It was.
It was but this movie was boring. How do you make a Superman movie and have it be boring? Oh my gosh. Bryan Singer's 2006 Superman Returns. And one of the worst things about this movie is the fact that, I'm a Superman fanboy, DC fanboy, if you will. And I loved like the Christopher Reeve Superman movies up until Superman 3. Parts of Superman 3. But so I wanted to have my young brothers and sisters to have that same feeling I had. I'm like, oh, Superman is back. I'm going to take my brothers and sisters to see Superman. This is going to be great. They're going to have the same experience I had. Nope. Nope. Because Bryan Singer was directing it. And it was somehow one of the most boring superhero movies. Well, to me, it is the most boring superhero movie you could ever watch. And to have that as a Superman movie, it was so pretentious. This movie was so up its own butthole and pretentious. And how did this happen? How? And then you have poor, oh my gosh, what's his name? Superman.
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh. Yeah, poor Brandon Routh, who I really like Brandon Routh. I was always a fan of his. I liked him being cast. You have Brandon Routh. This is his big Hollywood chance. Yeah, he also was a Superman fan at the time. I'm sure he still is, but I'm just saying, for him to be playing that role, I'm sure that was like the greatest thing ever. He was probably calling all his family, I'm going to be Superman. and have him play this role and give him nothing, but being a dude that can fly around and be a creepster, just peep showing, watching Lois in the most creepiest. How do you turn Superman into like a creep? It was weird. How did you think this was good? And then to make him a deadbeat dad on top of it.
On top of all of that.
It's like that whole storyline was a bad idea gone worse. That should have never happened. But you can go ahead and interject, please, before my head explodes.
Well, my main problem stems from the story not making a bit of damn sense. And you got one of my favorite actors, Kevin Spacey. I don't know how he convinced him to be in that.
Here's the thing. Before you go into yours, this is the thing about Kevin Spacey. Like, he had to be talked into it. He really did. But he also had to be talked into shaving his head, which is something he did not want to do for the role. But I remember them talking about how, a singer just convinced him. He gave him something, as compensation for it. But you got this guy, Kevin Spacey, was one of the greatest, finest thespians ever. And you, oh my gosh. Go ahead. Back to you.
Yeah, that movie, and then to have people to sit up and try to defend it. I'm like, I'm a fan and I can't defend this. I cannot defend this.
You said that. I was one of those people. I was in complete denial. But for at least a year after that movie released, I was in denial. I was like, no, it was good. It was good. Because I was so hyped up for it that I allowed myself to believe that it was actually a good movie, and people just got it wrong. They didn't understand. Now, it was beautifully shot.
Yeah, it was beautifully shot, had good moments in it. But
yeah, so what?
the main problem was the story and the mere fact that you turn an iconic hero into a deadbeat dad, a creep who listens, and they try to mask it by saying, "Oh, he listens to everybody in the world." Okay, dude, seriously, he is clearly not doing that.
Some people are doing some really bad things, and he's listening to that.
He wasn't clearly he wasn't doing that. Clearly, he was listening to her. So I mean, and the plot, even it got so bad that the
plot was embarrassing.
Yeah, even the guys who was at Cal Penn, the guy who does the White Castle movies, he couldn't even defend it.
He played a henchman.
Yeah, and he was like, that plot was stupid.
Which was this one of the worst castings of all time.
Yeah,
you get the guy from Harold and Kumar stoner movies to be a bad guy in the Superman movie.
And he's not doing like his shtick.
No,
let him do his shtick. If he's gonna have him as a villain, have him funny.
Yeah, have him be a goofy, funny villain.
Nope.
Did he even say anything? I don't think he had a line. I can't remember one line Cal Penn had.
And Cal Penn
just stood there and made
him go off on that movie.
Yeah, he just stood there and made faces, like mean mugging faces, which were laughable because he doesn't look serious when he's mean mugging. No, he's not menacing.
No.
So it was just terrible. Like you said, the plot was dumb. This is the plot. Stupid Lex Luthor. He's stupid. It's going to steal the crystals from the Fortress of Solitude because, the crystals, they create land. But, Kryptonian type of land, which you can't grow anything on. It's just rocks and just crag and stony, pillars and all that kind of stuff. So he's going to create. I'm still confused because by creating his land, he's destroying other land, and it's not like he has some kind of super duper robot army or some brainiac army behind him.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. It's just him and his stupid 5 or 6 henchmen on this rock, sitting and waiting for what? I don't know. The army could come and blast them dudes into outer space. They don't need Superman to stop this dude for what he's doing. They're just a bunch of dudes standing on a rock in the middle of the ocean. Like, so anybody could have went out there and got at them. Well, I mean, what were they doing? What were they waiting for?
I was waiting for Aquaman to show up.
Well, they're waiting for people to say, "Oh man, land over here is just terrible. I want to go to this giant rock in the middle of the ocean and beg Lex Luthor for an apartment." What was the plot?
A real estate scam gone wrong?
A script gone wrong. It was terrible. No redeeming qualities whatsoever. And then they drag poor Cyclops into the movie.
Which is why he got killed at the beginning of Last Stand.
Right. So Bryan Singer talked him into dying off in his iconic role as Cyclops to come to be in his stupid, boring Superman movie as the boyfriend, gullible, dumb boyfriend.
Yeah.
Who doesn't realize his girlfriend is still in love with Superman. And doesn't realize his son isn't his son.
That any man would have seen the second he saw Superman and her looking like any man would have been like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, this ain't my kid. This look nothing like me.
Matter of fact,
he's got long black hair like Superman. What is going on here?
It's about as bad as Game of Thrones and them kids not being Robert Baratheons.
Right. Like, how stupid do you have to be to realize them ain't your kids?
Yeah. You don't need a paternity.
You just don't have to care. He just didn't care enough. He just wasn't paying attention. So
no, he was in love, man. He was in love.
Right.
Yeah. See, black folks laugh at that. So
seriously. It's just there's nothing redeeming about this movie at all.
No.
And then here's the thing. They showed the best action scene in the first 10 minutes of the movie. 15 minutes.
Yep.
That's the best action scene in the movie. And then they show, and I remember in the trailers them showing the scene where he's on the roof and the dude's hitting him with the 50 cal. Yeah. And he gets shot in the eye and the bullet drops, slow motion.
They shouldn't have showed
that. That was in the trailer. Over and over and over in the trailer. So by the time you sat there and saw it in the movie, you're like, okay.
Yeah, because it was a cool sequence, but you've seen it 30 times in every trailer.
Right. But you know why they showed it in the trailer? Because the movie was so damn boring. They had nothing else. One scene. Right. They had no choice.
I mean, what were they going to show? Superman getting shanked by a green kryptonite chunk?
No. Show him lifting a giant kryptonite island. That's what you do.
And throwing it into space?
And throwing it in space. And then I'm tired now.
Yeah.
Instead of the whole time you were lifting this giant kryptonite island, you're not tired. Oh, the minute you throw it out into space, then you fall back to Earth. I can't take it anymore. Are you kidding me?
Oh, the hilarity of that movie.
It was awful. It was just awful.
Yeah.
And then you had the most blondest girl of all times try to get a brunette job to be a Lois Lane.
Kate Bosworth.
You can see her blonde roots.
Yeah.
It was just like, what is going on here? She was the worst choice to play. I'm pretty sure I got this in my head. I'm pretty sure that Parker Posey went out to play Lois Lane, who she would have been a eminently better choice to play Lois Lane instead of that stupid comic relief character she was playing.
Yeah.
But the direct, I want them to be really young because this is going to be a franchise that's going to go on for 10 years. So, yeah, wrong. Parker Posey's a little older, than they were. So I think Brandon Routh was 26.
Yeah, because Brandon Routh
came out.
Yeah, Brandon Routh.
So he was. It's about 10 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, and that in and of itself kind of hurt comic book movies at the time, because and people to this day still give Bryan Singer a pass for the X-Men, but I was mad at what he did to the X-Men, and then when he did it to Superman, I'm like, I told y'all.
Well, the X-Men, see, that's the thing. The X-Men were successful, so people give them that pass. The movies made money, but because Superman didn't,
and it got panned by
it's kind of not fair, because Superman was already in the hole when he got it, so it was a disaster from the beginning. Like, because you had they were part of that budget was what what's his name was doing,
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, right? That was part of. He came in with debt in that Superman movie already, so the Tim Burton stuff that they didn't end up doing, all that was part of the Superman Returns budget, and so it was like what $250 million or something.
Yeah, at that point,
ridiculous. Yeah, it's just like, so they had to make like 700 million basically to be profitable, and I think it made maybe 300.
Yeah, because it didn't do anything overseas.
No, it did nothing overseas.
So
I think the biggest problem with that movie was that Bryan Singer got the idea in his head to redeem Superman 3 and 4, I guess. And he said, "I'm gonna the original, right? This is supposed to be a sequel to the original Richard Donner movies. So this was going to be his Superman 3, and he's just going to erase the Superman 3 and Superman 4 that came out back then. And that was just a bad decision to begin with, because the audience is way different in 2006 than it is in 1982. So that was just a bad idea to begin with. He used all the old music, but he changed Superman's suit to this weird kind of tiny little S. It was just like, I don't understand. And like this kind of dark red webby cape. It was just like, I don't know. But that was the main problem. He wanted to make a Richard Donner sequel, and it was never going to work.
Yeah, that was one of those situations where somebody should have been like, dude, no.
Somebody should have been like, hey, we fired Richard Donner, right?
Don't make us fire
him. We fired him about 75% into Superman 2 because he wanted to end the movie with the same stupid fly around the world to turn back time thing.
Yeah.
To end it. I'm like, really? You know how stupid that was in Superman 1? You want to do it again?
Yeah, he wanted to do it again. Awesome.
Yeah, so I had the Richard Donner cut because I couldn't believe that was one of the reasons he got fired.
Yep.
And I saw it, and he put it back in, and it was terrible. It was a terrible idea. Yeah. So anyway, that's
now after Superman, we turn to the one man who can save DC. The one man, or should I say the one British man who we loved some of his earlier works, like Memento. I still don't understand that movie, but hey, whatever. And
even before that, Looking.
Yeah, Looking. Yeah. So,
Looking.
And that would be Christopher Nolan. Now, Christopher Nolan has one very important thing that he has something in common with Bryan Singer. He never read the comics before he got the job, but before he sat down to direct, he was reading the comics. Bryan Singer,
he read the comics, right? He did the smart thing and actually tried to learn about what his character was about. Learn about his characters and their motivations and understand them as any smart director would do. Instead of being a pretentious, head up his own ass dude like Bryan Singer. So, yeah. And that's why we got glorious Batman Begins.
Yep. Now, Batman Begins 2000, that was what, 2006 or 5?
2005.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Batman Begins, they did something different because they actually kept it to what Batman was. Now, in comics, Batman, when he's by himself, not when he's with the Justice League, when he's by himself in Gotham, most of his criminals don't have powers.
Nope.
The majority of them are gangbangers, mobsters, or just crazy psycho serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
He has a couple that have powers, but other than that, most of his villains do not have powers. So you can actually take his stories from a real world point of view, which is what they did, and it was genius.
Genius.
It was
and
genius.
You had the right director who
Mm-hmm.
could write. Him and his brother make a great writing tandem, and they are actually good directors, or they're good and good producers. And the best thing about Batman Begins was the fact that it came out of nowhere. Like I don't even think I even knew that a Batman movie was being made.
You didn't know until Comic-Con when they dropped that teaser,
right? So we had no idea. Like the last Batman we had was Batman and Robin, which was an atrocity.
Joel Schumacher for the win.
Proportion. It was, and I don't really blame Joel because it was so much studio meddling. With that movie, like Joel Schumacher is a good director. Phantom of the Opera is a great movie. Lost Boys is a great movie. He was not the right pick for Batman.
Yeah,
because the first one he did well. They thought, oh, maybe people like the campier type of because he did Batman Forever before that with Val Kilmer.
Yeah,
and
Jim Carrey playing the Riddler / Joker.
But that's why it did well, because Jim Carrey was a huge star at the time.
Yeah,
and people wanted to see Jim Carrey play the Riddler and be crazy Jim Carrey. So the movie did well because of that, and he was funny. Yeah,
and he was hilarious.
Yeah, he was funny in that. It was definitely a perfect role for him at the time. So that's why that movie did well. So they thought, oh, maybe Schumacher could do it, and they kind of rushed it out. I mean, they had this dude making vehicles in the movie because they had toy ideas. They made toys before they made the damn vehicles in the movie. The vehicles in the movie were made because they had toys that they wanted to sell, and that's where you're in trouble. So we had no idea. We had, first of all, what's his name was a terrible casting for Batman. He's a great actor, but he's no Batman. Yeah, George Clooney was an awful choice. He'll tell you that. He even said that. He said, "I'm the worst Batman." It's like
we agree.
We agree. But I like when actors are real and will tell you, I was terrible. So this is the history we had. So we had that's 8 years basically with no Batman in sight. Nobody knew he was coming back. And the way he came back was just perfect. So,
and plus, we also have to remember the Nolan brothers. They have their own stable of actors that they bring with them on damn near every project, and their stable of actors are damn near all of them are Academy Award winners. So
yeah, they're great actors.
Yeah,
right. And that's another thing. That's another difference. I think that started to happen, especially because of Batman Begins. Movies like that. I guess you could say going back to maybe Alfred Molina in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But you started getting, or even in Spider-Man 1, you had what's his name as a villain?
Dafoe. Willem Dafoe.
Right, Dafoe. But I think before that, people expected a good actor to play the villain. You had the original Joker played by Jack Nicholson. So you expected at least that villain guy to be a good actor, but then you started seeing, even smaller roles. Like nobody wants to play a butler, right? But you had an Academy Award-winning actor play Alfred, and this is when I think it started to change. People were like, "Hey, wait a minute! You can have serious, good actors in these movies in other roles, and not just the villain or the main villain role." So that's when it changed, I think. And
I think the other thing that changed was the sheer amount of the casting. Because let's see, we had Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. We had Rutger Hauer in there, who's awesome.
And these are small roles.
Yeah, these ain't big roles.
Yeah.
We had Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, but we also had Kim Watanabe, who had just came off of Last Samurai.
Last Samurai, that's right.
Yeah, and people loved him in that because Last Samurai, I love that movie, but not for Tom Cruise.
No, not Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he had nothing to do with it. But you know, he has, and once again, now these are the Nolan brothers' stable of actors. They go get them on pretty much the majority of their projects. A few of those actors will be in all of their stuff. Like Michael, you'll see a Michael Caine or a Liam Neeson or a Ken Watanabe or Rutger Hauer or something. They stable actors be with them on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, and that they took everything seriously.
Yes.
Just think, okay, let's just take a Batman. Let's just take another Batman movie, which was a good Batman movie, but this is a small moment in this movie. The original Batman, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the courtroom scene with Harvey Dent? You know, played by Billy D. Williams, right? Remember how quick and kind of inconsequential that was? It was just kind of a little. What it was, just some little what do you call it? Exposition delivered, just tiny little bit. Oh, Harvey Dent, blah blah blah. So you know who Harvey Dent is basically, and they moved on. But the courtroom stuff and Batman Begins was poignant. It was important. Like they focused, they stayed on it, and little moments became bigger moments, and it wasn't like kind of a goofy thing. It was like, let's be serious. Let's take this stuff seriously. And that's what Nolan did with the Batman universe. He took it seriously,
which actually helped a lot because that's when we get 3 years later we get Marvel and we get Iron Man and we get Incredible Hulk in the same year in 2008, and
you got big, serious actors playing these roles,
And not only are they playing the roles, they're taking it seriously and having fun with it. And you're like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, and not to take anything from Michael Keaton, but Michael Keaton back then was a goofy comedic actor. He's actually, obviously, he blossomed into like a serious, good actor. But back then, when he played Batman, he wasn't like, some big A-list dude. He was kind of the goofy Beetlejuice guy,
Beetlejuice.
But now, and then then you start seeing people like what's his name as Iron Man,
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Like he's a serious good actor, did he win it? Had he won the Oscar yet? No,
I don't think he was nominated. I don't think he had won. I think he was nominated.
Yeah. So that was the change that started to happen. You started seeing good, serious actors in these comic book movies all over the place, not just as the villain, or because that worked in Batman.
And the writing was good on them. The other thing, the writing was except you didn't have to live off the action sequences. The writing was actually good.
Mm-hmm.
You actually felt for the characters when you needed to feel for the characters. So, I mean,
you got a real origin story for Batman. You got a true, where he came from. You felt his pain. You saw him basically imprisoned in third world prisons, and learning how to be a ninja. You saw all that, and that was the first time we had that,
which was good because we needed to see that.
Yeah,
we kind of did.
And we all know his parents died, and we all knew about that part, but we didn't see what the training he went through to become Batman. And they took that seriously. That could have been some really cheesy stuff in somebody else's hands.
Yeah, that could have been done in a montage from somebody, but they actually
stupid montage. Yeah,
they spent time with it, which I was glad they did. Personally,
yes.
And because when I think about it, like the 2000s, honestly, was up and down for me. Like for every good movie I saw like two bad ones.
There was a lot of, I would say it was definitely one of the weakest decades in Hollywood movie history, but there were some gems in there.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of crap as well.
Yeah. Because I mean, I will say this, like Lord of the Rings, loved that entire what they did with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, early 2000s was a lot more hits than misses.
It really was. Then like the Harry Potter stuff, I really didn't care for the Harry Potter stuff till the very end of it, the last 3 movies.
But they were all really good, very well made movies.
Very well made. I mean, It got so to the point that people started wanting to do every young adult novel, and we know how that went.
This is like the first time like you didn't have people completely pissing and moaning about the movie adaptation of a book that they love.
No,
people really thought, they really liked the book readers really loved the movies.
Yeah, because they were doing they did what they had to do. Like,
right.
and I will always tell people this because I read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I'm like, if they actually went by the book, each movie would have been 3 hours long.
Each movie would have been 3 hours.
Would have had 3 movies about the one book. Like the Fellowship of the Ring would have been 3 movies.
Because it's so like
there's so much in that.
That dude just the detail that dude wrote in was just crazy. Like like they had to cut entire characters out of those movies because like Tom Bombadil, they couldn't put him in. He was a big part in the books, but they couldn't fit him in. They just had nowhere to fit him in. So that's how intricate that dude used to write. But people like me and you who love the book also love the movies. Yeah, because they were really true to the characters and
the fact that they streamlined it to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were still 3.5 hour movies.
Yeah, because even then we're like, dude, because I remember sitting in the theater and people were like, the cliffhanger they leave it on. People were like, nah, man, when the next one coming out?
Yeah,
they were like,
nobody was like, looking at their watch. Is it over yet? I was enthralled the entire 3 hours and 15, 3:20, whatever it was. I was enthralled the whole time, except for maybe Return of the King because it had like 10 endings. But then I was like, oh, where's this movie gonna end, man? It ended 3 times already. So
of course, now if they did it, would have to have a stinger in the middle of it.
Oh my gosh.
If they did that now.
Yeah.
But
then they had to like stretch out the hobbits, which they shouldn't have done, but oh well.
Yeah. That's unfortunate because I actually like that book a lot. And
yeah, me too.
And I heard what happened with that as far as like it was a studio deal because they only pitched 2 movies, which made sense, but the studio wanted 3.
They wanted that trilogy money. They wanted it, so.
They wanted trilogy money, and there really was no reason to put trilogy money in it because there was no reason for it.
No. That's still one of my biggest, I don't know, I want to say regrets because it wasn't me, but to not see Guillermo del Toro direct them like he was supposed to. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen his take on it.
That would have been interesting because I think all the creatures would have been
really creatures.
Yeah, they really would have been like. People would have been having nightmares about that crap.
Yeah, right. It would have been a lot scarier, I think.
Yeah. So I can agree. I can agree with that. Other than that, I mean, like I said, the 2000s in a nutshell was really up and down, depending on how. Now there was a lot.
I would say I think the saddest thing is that the 2000s was pretty much the death of like the traditional action movie.
Yes.
Would you say that? Like it was pretty much the end for the traditional action movie? I think early on, because I think I started to see it die, sadly, when basically with Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like I remember really liking the one where he plays twins. What was that movie called? I can't even think of the name.
Tony with Danny DeVito?
Not twin. No, he was it twins in that? No. Oh yeah, it was twins.
Yeah,
he played. He was a clone or something. With Michael Rappaport, it was his friend.
That's not twins.
That movie? I can't remember.
I can't remember the name either.
No, he was a clone of somebody, and he didn't realize he was the clone.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it. I think it came out in 2000. But like that movie was okay. It did well. And then like Collateral Damage after that was like, it's like, oh no, the action movie is pretty much dead now.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that we had no action movie heroes anymore.
Yeah, there was no heroes.
Yeah, there was no like
he became governor. He went off and became governor of California. So He was like the last big action hero dude.
Yeah,
So
and the sad thing about it was like we had our Slides, our Sylvester Stallone,
yeah,
Arnold, Van Damme.
he fell off completely in
Yeah,
2000. Sly did.
Sly fell off. Van Damme was, I don't know what happened to him. Steven
Break the
Seagal.
DVD, break the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, Steven Seagal, same thing. You know, he had a couple
Steven
movies
Seagal
that
quit
hit.
caring about himself.
That too.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those situations where, like, yeah, do
Yeah, he
we?
was doing movies with like Ja Rule and stuff. That's when you know you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yo boy, but yeah, it was one of those situations. You know, so.
Yeah.
We had we didn't have the guys that we looked up to growing up. They got old,
and there were no new guys. That's fine. We didn't have the guys we
yeah.
looked up to, but there were no new guys stepping into those roles. I mean, we thought maybe Jet Li was gonna do, but he didn't really go that route, and he was more over in the East than he was over here, as far as big. And like you didn't have any American action heroes stepping into those roles. I mean,
we had The Rock, but The Rock started wanting to do everything. He didn't want to just be action.
Yeah,
some of everything.
Yeah,
so we just didn't have it.
He ended up in Doom. He ended up in Doom and stuff like that. And the Scorpion King, and which I thought would have been a great role for him, but the movie wasn't that good. So
yeah. Oh, I know the name of that movie, The Sixth Day.
Sixth Day. Thank you. Yeah. Like I like the premise of it. I like the fact that it was a science fiction action movie. That was like the last cool to me sci-fi action movie. And it wasn't that great overall, but it had a lot of really good stuff in it. But to me, that's when it started to die off. And then Stallone was doing like Get Carter or whatever that. It was like, what is this trash?
Yeah.
It was like he completely fell off. Yeah, so to see those two iconic dudes completely fall off and nobody to pick up and take over, like no younger guys were coming in.
Yeah, nobody pick up the slack of nothing. So yeah, I agree. That was but that led to the rise of the superhero movies, which now have become so big to the point that I think we're about to start seeing fatigue set in.
Yeah, I'm already starting to get fatigued, which is sad because DCEU just started basically, and not too long ago.
I hate that to be like this, but I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, once Avengers 4 is over, I'm probably gonna be checked out of Marvel. Because the reason why I'm so, because I want to see what the build up to the soap opera was with Thanos and all that.
They building this stuff is no way is going to live up to all this build up.
It can't. Me. Yeah. But see, I know that.
At least they're building it up. They didn't do what they did with Apocalypse. So,
first of all, that. Fox is. We ain't gonna get into that. Look.
Yeah, that's a whole nother situation there.
But I know that they can't live up to it. I'm just interested to see how they plan on.
You want to see the story?
Yeah, because I want to see how they get all those actors and actresses in this movie and give everybody screen time. I don't see how it can be done. I want to see it.
And make I just don't see how it can be done. The guy who was really good at doing that, he's done. Like, he left.
Yeah, they pissed Joss Whedon off, so
they ran him off. So,
and I like the Russo brothers. Don't get me wrong. I'm just interested in seeing if they can actually pull it off.
I like them a lot more in The Winter Soldier than I like them in Civil War.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. This is going to be interesting to see because this is the thing everybody was trying to say. Because at first they said Avengers couldn't work, and they proved everybody wrong. But this, I'm like, okay, y'all pulling everybody in. So, all right, let's see if y'all can pull this off. And that's pretty much the only reason. But after that, I think I'm gonna be fatigued out because at this point, what is there else to look forward to? Really? I mean, they done did it all.
As long as DC can handle their momentum on their side, I mean, they just pretty much getting started there.
Yeah,
I think interesting movies can come out of Flash and just character you haven't seen before. You haven't seen Aquaman, you haven't seen Cyborg. Those will be interesting. Hopefully they don't botch them.
Here's
You
hoping.
know, because those who be interested in superhero movies, be seeing superheroes that you in their own movies that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, and DC, please, please do Static Shock.
Please,
Please, just
you got to give a Static Shock, man.
please. And I don't want him on CW. I don't want Static on CW.
No.
Give him a movie. Give him a movie that can be y'all young Spider-Man. Just do that, please, for us.
Yeah, make it happen
for the fans.
do it for the fans. Do it for the fans.
Yeah, y'all can bring him in. Y'all know y'all like Virgil. Y'all can bring him in.
Oh man,
trying to play y'all sympathies, as it were. But I think that's gonna do it for this little discussion tonight. I don't know how.
I was trying to remember what we talked about before because it was so long ago. I was trying to remember what movies we talked about before.
Oh, we talked about Star Wars. We talked about.
We did talk about the prequels. Okay.
Yeah, we did. Oh yeah, we did.
We got Catwoman, right?
Yep, and Catwoman, which was hilarious.
Okay, we got on Catwoman today. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a book. Yeah, yeah.
We definitely did Daredevil. I remember doing Daredevil.
Yeah, and Ghost Rider, and we hit on Ghost Rider. So
Ghost Rider. Oh,
you know, yeah. So I mean, if you noticed, like I said, these past, it was a nice little trip down memory lane for us. For 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was a nice little trip down memory lane.
What would you say before we go? What would you say is the defining genre of movie in the 2000s? What was the big that people going to the theaters to see those movies?
It was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, because
and other movies like that tried to come along, like The Golden Compass.
Yeah, I mean the reason why it was Lord of the Rings because at the time nobody thought that could be done, and on top of that, they filmed it back to back.
Yeah.
So at the time, everybody said the Lord of the Rings could not be translated to live action because of the sheer volume of the books and the stuff that was in it.
And it was so genius how they shot that movie, the visual effects, how they put all that together. This is the stuff that you were expecting to see come out of like the Star Wars prequels.
And that didn't happen.
And that did not happen. Like you expect, this is George Lucas's territory. This is the stuff he should have been doing. But Peter Jackson one-upped him big time.
I'm talking about in his face.
And his own, yeah. And excuse me, I also won an Oscar with something you'll never do, George. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to be honest, to be fair, Lord of the Rings should have won every year it was up because there was no better movie.
Yeah. It should have won.
They were trying to be fair. Ish.
Yeah. Well, there was some really good stuff in there. There's stuff like A Beautiful Mind. That was a great film.
Yeah, that was a good movie, but it wasn't better than Lord of the Rings.
No. I mean,
but that was the problem.
Obviously,
they had
the box office would destroy those movies.
Yeah. And the problem,
no competition there.
They just beat them out.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Avatar versus Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
It was just like it was no competition as far as what audiences loved more, what audience would to see more. Yeah, what was just like a groundbreaking film. Hurt Locker was not a groundbreaking film. Avatar was a groundbreaking film, and it should have won Best Picture, and it should have won Best Director, and it's bull crap that it didn't.
I mean, it started the whole 3D craze,
right? I mean, just like the technology of the. Yeah, we didn't talk about Avatar. How could we leave 2000s without talking about Avatar?
Oh yeah, you're all right. Dang. Well,
shame on us. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm glad you did say so. Yeah. So before we get out of here, let us give thanks to Mr. James Cameron. Now, normally I would have glowing remarks for him, but that dude said some foolish stuff a couple weeks ago. So
he did.
I'm gonna try not to bring that into this, but
he, I just want to quickly say he's pretentious and douchey at times, but he gets it passed because he's so good as a director. Whereas
he does.
A guy like Bryan Singer isn't.
Yeah, Bryan Singer.
So we're good on him. So, and he's so iconic as far as like the history of filmmaking. So
this is true.
He gets away with saying really stupid things, like he said a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but I will say this: the thing that set Avatar apart for me was the fact that at the time I had never seen like visuals pop like that in a theater. That's even
You
the
saw it in
2D.
3D.
Yeah, that was even the 2D though, because I saw it in both
Yeah.
2D and 3D. I went to the theater twice to see that one.
Mhm.
Because the first time I couldn't, the 3D was sold out, so I went and watched it regular. And then the second time I was actually able to catch a 3D version. And I'm like, even in the 2D version, it was the first time I seen like the way the planet was. I'm like, dude,
Oh my
this is beautiful. Now,
That is good. But
they did have one of the dumbest names in all of cinema
oh my
named in
gosh.
movies.
There was a little bit of
Unobtainium.
lazy writing in there. There's some lazy stuff in there, James. Shame on you.
Oh wait, did you really just say
Unobtainium.
unobtainium?
Okay, that was like a placeholder name until he came up with a better name, but he never came up with the better name, so you just stay with it.
I want to stay with that, but
It's terrible. Unobtainium, really? That's awful. Come on, James. That is terrible.
Yeah, that was atrocious.
You're a better writer than that. Come on.
And that people is when you go to a black theater, because everybody in there was making fun of that the whole time.
Did he just say unobtainium?
What the hell is unobtainium?
Wow.
You get color commentary at that point.
That was awful.
I would say this, like, and Stephen Lang was in that movie. Stephen Lang, that is a scary senior citizen.
Oh boy, he was. He was. Yeah, like, he was.
Is this dude jacked up on roids? What?
Yeah, he was jacked in that movie. He was jacked. And dude, if you're a fan of films, and you want to like marvel in the technology of them, do yourself a favor and get like the Lord of the Rings trilogy with all the appendices, with all the extra stuff, and do that for Lord of the Rings, and do the same for Avatar. It is so much learning can happen just by watching the behind the scenes stuff in those two movies. That should be required in film school.
I agree.
For required viewing in film school. It is such good nuggets in there. So inspiring. I remember just watching that stuff and just being, wow, I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And go ahead.
I will say this: the thing about Lord of the Rings, watching the appendices for that, is the fact that you see how much work they actually did to doing all the practical stuff first.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that they had to do CG on, they did. The thing about watching the commentary and the stuff for the special stuff for Avatar is how they did the shots.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the shots that they did were just like, and the camera they had did.
There was a lot of practical stuff in there too.
Yeah, there was a lot of practical, but the thing that I took away from Avatar was the actual how they shot it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just how they shot it, because like I had never seen it done like that before. Now with Lord of the Rings, it was like they had all hands on deck. They had their own blacksmiths. They had real blacksmiths making all that armor.
What's the name of his company?
Wetaworks.
Wetaworks. Like they do. It's cool because they have the digital side of Wetaworks and they have the physical, practical stuff. Whether they, like you said, they built all the swords and the armors and all that. Man, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff was handmade. So, yeah, like
Here's the thing: even in Avatar, the people were digital. Their clothing was all digital. But James Cameron insisted that they brought in a designer to make everything real.
Yeah, because they had they wore it when they were doing the scenes and stuff.
No, not even that. The digital artists would take that and recreate it basically digitally, and it just made it better because they had something practical to pull from.
And yeah, that does help.
Yeah, you could see how the clothing flowed and all that stuff. They got to be able to see all that stuff. And that made the animation way better.
And once again, and that's the reason why I get DVDs.
I can't buy a DVD that doesn't have any special features on it. It's a waste of my money. It has to have director's commentary and some behind the scenes stuff, or I'm not buying it.
Yeah, because people ask me like, why do I still get DVDs even though I have like Netflix? I'm like, because there's certain movies I want to see how they made them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
And
certain
those
movies I
two
want to see how they did it. And
Yep.
as much as I like Netflix and Hulu and all that, they don't put that stuff on there.
Nope.
So
James Cameron, Steven Spielberg, any of their iconic films, there's such wealth of knowledge in the behind the scenes stuff on that. If you go back and watch that, and even Robert Rodriguez's early stuff, dude was such a maniac when he made movies. It was just so interesting how he filmed his stuff too. Not so much the later stuff, but you could tell that these guys love the art of filmmaking, and it just made their movies so much better. That's why they stood above everybody else. So
yeah, and still do for the most part.
I still say the greatest action movie I've ever seen is Terminator 2. That's my favorite action movie of all time still. So
I agree. I can't deny that. I really can't. So yeah, but that does it for us for this edition of Fresh Take. You got anything you want to add or pimp out?
Well, I just dropped a video recently. I probably won't have another one up for a while because I'm going out of town for a few days. So just check out my channel. I'll probably have something up by this weekend. Okay. Out.
Cool. And me, I just put up all that gameplay of Project Octopath Traveler demo. I also gonna put up some stuff from Destiny 2. I plan on getting that, so I'm gonna be putting some stuff up from that later on, as well as I think it's called Shyness. It's on the Xbox, and I'll be putting that up as well sometime next week. So be on the lookout for that. And with that, people, we will see you on our next vid, even though I don't know what we're going to be doing at the time, but we'll think of something. So, and watch the Punisher trailer. See you.
Peace.